Morning, welcome. Today's webinar is all about the concept of improving visibility and reporting, and its specific focus is on dashboards and KPIs. I'm not doing necessarily reports all to do with financials and job costing. We've done a separate one on that already, and I know we cover that one in various other guises. So this one's a little bit different. It's all to do with more sort of the operational side of it and how you can make your dashboard work for you and how you can use KPIs to monitor yourselves and obviously keep up with your clients' demands. Before we start, as always, I'll try and keep the webinar to around about half an hour. I know how busy we all are. Any questions you might have, please feel free to type them into the meeting chat. I will try and keep my eye on that. The webinar is being recorded. I always do this, and I will try and get this up to YouTube later today. First of all, as I sort of said on the introductory slide, today's session is all about the effective usage of your dashboards, live KPIs, all with a view to sort of tracking your performance and helping you as managers, usually, to spot your issues that you might be having earlier on, and also how to make faster decisions by having the data that you need right in front of you. So some of it's going to be demonstrations and some of it is going to be some slides with screenshots because it's just simpler to show you that and I can talk you through them. So we'll make a start. And the very first thing that I'd like to draw your attention to is on your dashboard, the widget that literally everybody uses for everything. It's the place you live. I introduced this on day one of the implementation and say if you have one dashboard widget, this is the one you need. This is all your jobs, it's all the statuses that you have, and we've got different concepts that we can bring into this, which I'll explain in a minute. But really, what I'm showing you here on this slide is the concept of monitored clients. So I know some of you are doing this quite to good effect. This particular demo system, you can see I've got one monitored client. This was actually what it was designed for. It was designed for that one big client that you want to keep an eye on, and I think our customers have taken that and run with it and expanded the usage of this to include many clients. And that does actually work because then what you can have is you could have a team of people or maybe a QS or a contract manager who's in charge of looking after a particular client. You can bring those onto your dashboard and keep an eye on them. One of the things that you can do, which I'm going to show you as a little bit of a demo, is on this dashboard widget, which you should be able to see now on the live demo system, you have got the edit filters option over here. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to bring in or remove different things on your dashboard. So for example, I've just taken off the contracts and put it back to being a monitored client. So if I hit the home button, you can see now I'm looking at my monitored client of New Slafford or everything. If I wanted to bring back, say for example, the other contracts or maybe a particular contract on there, I can do that by just toggling these in and out, and that's done on my login, so this is only affecting me. So you've got other users in your organization that might have a responsibility for a particular contract. They can personalize their dashboard so that this widget doesn't go off the screen with things they're not interested in. How to get monitored clients on there? We still get asked how to do it, and this is done within the client wizard, and I always step into the client wizard the same way. You can do it from Find Client, but I always favor doing it from here by going to Create Simple Job, stepping into your client you're interested in by choosing it there, and then I always step in at the branch level by hitting the plus button. Once you're in the client wizard, step into the client screen, and the tick box you need to make them monitored so that they show up on your dashboard is here. It's the monitored checkbox just there. So when you update that, and then you hit your home button, AN Other Housing has now got its own column on the dashboard. And if I wasn't responsible for that one, say in my job role, but somebody else was, I can edit my filters and I can remove, say, New Slafford, get rid of that contract. And now I'm just going to show my dashboard for the one I've just monitored. So a really handy way of improving your visibility, so that basically what you can see on here is the job flow and all the statuses and where everything's at for that one client. Similar concept, I've already covered this really with what I was just demonstrating, is that we also have a concept of monitored contract. So you don't necessarily want to see all of the client. You might be only interested in the day-to-day reactive works. It might be you're only interested in the void works. You don't need to see everything. So you might want to see them all, but broken out, so you can see the split of where things are up to, like you can see here. And that is set up in exactly the same way using a monitored contract. So if I just very quickly show you the same sort of thing, if I go to create a simple job and I go to my client of A and Other Housing, if I step in at the contract stage here, when you're setting up a new contract, you complete these fields here. And one of the things you have there is the show advanced contract options. And when you tick that, it reveals more fields. And the one you're looking for is monitored. So if you're about to create a new contract at this point, ticking monitored there will ensure that any new jobs you create will go on the dashboard. And of course, existing contracts can be edited here. So I could make that one a monitored contract. So when I press the home button, we have got our fire and service remedials contract has just shown up there for the one I just added in, along with our client. And so I can edit my filters and I can start bringing things in and out if I want to. And there's the fire one that I just edited in. So I could remove that from my login like so, hit the home button, and that one's no longer there for me, but any other users could add that in. That's our concept of monitored clients. Linking closely to that, we were recently asked by one of our customers if we could introduce a dashboard widget for work in progress for the monitored clients. So rather than having to go off into the reports menu to run a report for your work in progress, this was shown on the dashboard as a live dashboard widget that every time your dashboard refreshes, you can see your WIP for your monitored clients. And of course, it's not just monitored clients because it's everybody, but it is broken down by those that are monitored. So that's a really handy little dashboard widget. If you want to bring that in, it's literally on your list of dashboard widgets. So if you go to the bottom of your dashboard and find the personalize icon, it'll be down here somewhere near the bottom. Monitored customer work in progress. It's just there, and all you'd do is if you wanted to see that on your live dashboard, you'd personalize that in here. And again, because that's a personalize option on a dashboard widget, bringing that in would be just on your login for when you want to do it. Back to another dashboard widget, sort of where we were on the items requiring action. We had recently, I say recently, I think we've now had it for probably just over 12 months actually, a internal KPIs or KPIs that relate to your job statuses. So in its simplest form, items requiring action, this dashboard widget you can see here, is in fact a really handy way of showing where your jobs are up to. Because anyone who's had training from anybody here at Epix will know that what we encourage is that the jobs that are in these statuses, most of them, are kept as low as you possibly can, and they are moved down the statuses until you get to the end where it's approved for charging, and then you invoice them. So the idea is that you progress them from top to bottom almost as fast as you can so that you get paid. Obviously, there are certain ones that will remain larger volumes, things like a waiting allocation for maybe scheduled or PPM jobs that aren't due for another 12 months. But you are generally keeping these low. So as a manager, what you're hopefully trying to be watching your teams and keeping your organization running properly is that you're going to try and keep these volumes as low as you can and get them moving. To help with that, we've introduced the concept of KPIs that relate to status. And so we've got these columns which you may have spotted appearing in your system. If you're using them, that's great. What they do is they allow you to set a KPI limit in hours against a status. And what that means is if you put a job into a status, it sets the timer running. And then what that lets you do is if you set, say, 24 hours, the moment that that job has sat there for more than 24 hours, it comes into this column here as it's failing a KPI. So take, for example, our no access 1 down here. You can see we've got 10 jobs at no access 1. 3 of them have fallen outside of the KPI of 4 days. So this system, what we're expecting our users to do is that if a job arrives at no access, then you've got 4 days to deal with it and get it booked in again. So in this system at the moment, we've got 3 of them that haven't been dealt with and they're simply sitting there waiting to be dealt with. So as a manager, you can keep an eye on these numbers and get your teams on them. But also, that's not just for managers. The teams can see this as well. They can get into those numbers, get those jobs reissued back out again. If I just show you very quickly on our test system here, if I go into, let's say, the no access one there, what you get is the standard report that you're very used to seeing, which is your jobs requiring action breakdown. It's the big list of all the information about the job. We're all very familiar with that, but you'll notice as sort of we do latest releases and updates to the system that we start adding extra columns in here. We do announce them on our release notes, but if you don't read those, you might just sort of spot them. We've got things such as we've always had status, but we've got the last status comment, we've got the last status date, the time in status. We've also got a concept of when the next status is due, and all that is driven by the KPI that you set against it. Now, if you looked on my slide, you'll see that all of the statuses here had KPIs set. You don't have to set them for everything. You can literally set them for a couple. You might want to put them in parts required, so that if you get a job coming back that needs parts ordering, then somebody jumps on that and orders the parts quickly because you can't do the work until you've got the parts. So if you want to explore that, there are a handful of super users that have got access to the setup and the statuses menu. But if you want to use that, that's something that we can set for you. We can sort of, if you ask us to do it, we'll do it for you. And we would set that up against individual statuses on your dashboard. And it's not set in stone. If you just suddenly decided that what you'd set was actually that's no use, we can change it for you. It's not a problem at all. Another one we have, dashboard related again. Many of you have got start of day checks set up on your mobile apps, and the start of day checks are typically van checks and things that you want them to be carrying out daily on their vehicles and making sure they've got the right PPE or the right tools, etc., and the vehicles are roadworthy. Those surveys get stored in the system. There's a report for it, but if you're not going to go looking for that report, and what you want to see when you log in first thing in the morning that your team have actually answered the questions, bringing in the start of day checks for today's questions is a really good idea. So what you'd see on there is any gaps for people that haven't actually done them, but also it's very handy to spot any issues. So for example, you've got the are you aware of any faults to your vehicle? Yes. Well, we know we'd need to get in touch with Ian to find out what's wrong with his vehicle, for example. Another one that we added, and again, I say this in our training sessions, a lot of these features are added on requests from you guys. So when you have ideas and you report them to us and say, it'd be really handy if we could do this thing, we do often go ahead and do them because if we think it's useful, we think it should be done. And this was one of them. It was a dashboard widget that shows you recently added attachments. And what that does, any photographs taken by an engineer, provided they've got a signal, are dialed back almost immediately they take them. And so this allows you, whilst an engineer is actually active on a job, to see the photographs coming in before they've ended the visit. So if they're there all day, but they're taking a load of pictures as they go, those images do come back to you on the job anyway. But we've also got this nice handy dashboard widget to show you recently added attachments, so you can keep an eye on what's coming in. You can click on the images and they load up in a nice preview. And also, I just thought I'd zoom in on one of the images I've got there just to draw your attention to it. It's not necessarily to do with today's webinar, but it is a new feature that I think some of you might be unaware of that we're doing. And that is, you can see on the bottom of our photograph here that we've watermarked it with the date and time that the photo was taken, along with the GPS coordinates of where the photo was taken as well. That's been a result of a couple of our customers saying that their clients need this information, so we've gone ahead and done it. And that's a feature that we can turn on your system very easily. If you would ask us to do that, we can do it really quickly. Another one that you may be unaware of that we have, some of you do have this. There's a screen on the mobile app that appears at the end of a visit, and it's called the desirable property details. And that's because at the end of a visit, if there are things that you want your operatives to capture about that site, then they can capture it and record it against the site. It's not necessarily against the job. They're capturing it while they're there, but it's stashing this information against the site. And this was born out of there was two reasons. One of them was, have you left any equipment on site? And the other one was, is there scaffolding on the site? And so those of you that use scaffolding will know that you've got to check on them every week. And also if there's particularly bad weather forecast or high winds, you're supposed to go and check on them then. So often supervisors, managers may not necessarily know exactly where your scaffolding is because you've got such a lot of it, particularly if you're a roofing contractor, you'd need to know exactly where it is at all times. by the engineers when they leave site saying, yes, there is scaffolding present. This then appears on your dashboard to say where the scaffolding is. And that report, you click into that and it shows you where everything is. And that then allows you to chase up on things that maybe you've got higher equipment that's due back. You can then contact the site and say, is this generator still needed? No, right, well, let's get it off hire and stop paying for it. That's that kind of thing. So again, a really handy screen. This screen can be turned on at the end of your mobile app. We can do that really easily, and we can tailor these questions to be whatever you need. And the drop down list is often yes or no, but again, doesn't have to be. It can be words, but bearing in mind that whatever happens, it comes here on the dashboard. So yeses and nos are handy, asking really basic questions of your engineers as they leave site. Another thing that you can do to improve your visibility is your dashboard again, where you've got a new dashboard widget that's, I say new, possibly one of the most new ones we've done. This is the My Watched Jobs. Now, we've got the concept of monitored client and monitored contract, but as you saw, contracts can have hundreds of jobs against them. What if you've got a massive job that you are wanting to keep an eye on? Well, we have got a dashboard widget that allows you to watch a selection of jobs that you as a manager might be really interested in. Let's say you're a project manager and you've got 3 projects on the go. You don't need to see literally everything in the system. You're just interested in those, really. Well, using this dashboard widget allows you to do that. And as you can see, you've got your link here to click into the jobs. So what I'll do, I'll show you this one. If I nip into here, just go back to our dashboard. So you can see there, the one that was on my slide. The way this works, we're all familiar with this edit filters option here on our dashboard. If I click into there, you can see on this side, I've got already a customer reference selected there. So let's say I want to bring in another job that I'm really interested in. I can pick my job here, and then I can press save. But notice I've now got 2 on the go. It's a multi-select. So if I hit save, then I go to our home page, you can see my watched jobs has now got 2 in it. If I'm no longer interested in one, you guessed it, hit the cross, press save, it goes away, and I'm now left with just the one I recently added. What you can also do in there, if I just show you, you can, as well as focusing in on a particular job, which was the main reason we designed the dashboard widget in the first place, you could actually monitor a particular address. If there was several jobs, maybe you'd raised a project and there were 10 jobs against a particular site, you could monitor that. You could monitor jobs that are due in a certain date range, or even jobs that have been given out to a particular person. So this My Watched Jobs is not just about putting in a particular job reference. We can do other things in there. And those, as I say, do appear here on the dashboard for you to then click into, and you're straight in your job. I should mention that if you want that one, oh, I was on the right screen there, never mind. It's in your personalize dashboard, and because it's one of the most recent ones, it's down here, My Watched Jobs, it's just there. So you'd personalize that one in if you needed it. Jobs due soon. Many of you have this dashboard widget on your screen, and this basically summarizes jobs that are due by day. And the date range that you get, obviously you can see there, I've got 7 days there. That's a date range that you set in your system options. And so we can set that. So if you tell us how long or how short you want that list to be, we can deal with it. And that gives you the volumes of jobs that are due those days. The numbers in the brackets, as it says on the slide there, people often ask us, those are the jobs that are currently issued out to an engineer or a subcontractor, basically at status issued. So you can see that these are ones that are due. These are the ones, the numbers that are out at the moment. And so that lets you make a decision as to what you want to do with those. And obviously, as you fail to hit them, they land in overdue. In a similar vein, we have my favourite dashboard widget that I've blurred out the names of engineers because I've borrowed this from a customer's system because their data look better than my demo data. This is a really good I use this on everybody's dashboards when I first set people up on an implementation. I just think it's a great way of seeing who's got what, when you've got your gaps, who looks like they might be overloaded, who looks like they might be a bit light on work. But crucially, as I said on the other one about overdue, as you miss your jobs, they land in overdue. So this engineer here has got 5 to do today. If they don't hit some of those, they will land in overdue tomorrow. Same idea, but this is the issued workload by, I've called it supervisor. It could be account manager, it could be contract manager, it could be job owner. Depends on how you've got this captioned in your system. Again, I've borrowed this from a customer's system, and you can see that you've got your account managers that have got what clearly are PPM jobs, and you've got your ones that have got the large projects that are due. And as the account manager can then keep an eye. So this is for you as managers. You can see what your jobs are doing and where your jobs are up to. And as they fall into overdue, you know that they're running behind. Handy for senior managers to see which of your middle managers, if you like, are achieving well or running overdue on their jobs, or who's busiest. Okay, so that's your dashboard. I hope that was useful. Part of the description of our session today was to do with dashboards, operational side of things, but also to do with KPIs. I've touched on KPIs for the internal side of things with your own internal statuses and keeping your jobs moving. But typically KPIs are, I've listed some there. These are very common. Lots of clients will ask you to provide them information on these, or you've got written into your contract with your clients that you've got to achieve certain targets to meet those things that you can see there. First time fix, average time to complete jobs, and so on. So we have reports, as I'm sure many of you are aware, that cater for all of these things, and they're always in customer systems that are targeted on this sort of thing. They're always pinned to the report menu, so you've got quick access. We have got some clients that on the report menu, if I just show you very quickly here, you've got your reports, they're there, KPIs and so on. We have got certain clients that have got a separate report menu next to it that's specifically for KPI reporting. So you've got other things in this one and a KPI reports one next to it. That's possible. If you'd like us to organise your menus for you like that, just please ask and we can do. So in terms of these then, this is best done, I think, as a demo. So I'm going to step into our demo system and just go onto the dashboard. As I've said, under our reports menu, we've got things like the KPI first fix. So first time fix report. Are we achieving the aim to sort of fix every job on the first visit? So I'm just going to run this because this is our demo data. Your systems will look an awful lot busier than mine does, but I'm just going to run this for the year to date for received jobs. Hit search. Right. That is the first time fix report for everybody. Obviously, you may have seen on the screen before you, you had a breakdown by. So you could break down by customer reference number. You could break down by the client. Breaking down by client's quite handy because you can see, obviously, if you were reporting for a particular client, you'd be able to give them their data and not the whole thing. But if you're interested yourself as a company, you wouldn't bother breaking down by client. But if you're running it for your customers, you'd hit breakdown by client. Equally, first time fix, it's a bit unfair to do that on, say, a void job. So you might want to break down by your contract as well, and that's an option too. You can break down by contract. So you could, if you did, not that I have one there, but say voids, you could remove the void jobs so you're not necessarily reporting on those. To explain just sort of what you're seeing in front of you here, a lot of these columns, they do make sense. I don't need to talk through each of these. It's quite evident what they do. The one that says confirmed first visit fix, that's a little bit different, and it's worth explaining what that one does. So the confirmed first visit fix, this comes in when you have almost processed the job from a complete status to move it on, and you have confirmed yourself using the checkbox that appears that this is a confirmed first time fix. And you do that from here. So if I step into a completed job, and I just, any old job will do, and I approve it using one of my green buttons here, you get this screen. This is an option in the system options. If you don't get this screen, then you won't be able to confirm your first time fix and do other things. But here you can see there you've got this first time fix. you can overwrite it. So the system will know if you've had a job, you've issued it, and it was complete in one go, the system will automatically tick that for you. But if you've had multiple visits, the system won't think it's a first time fix, and so will leave it blank. But let's say the first visit was a no access and the second visit you did the work, I would argue that that was a first time fix, and so you can then say first visit was a no access and then move the job on. The other couple of KPI reports, I'm not going to go into vast amounts of detail on these. I think I'll leave them for you to play with, but I just wanted to point them all out. So the next one I'd like to show you is the average time to complete a job. So this is sometimes worded literally average time to complete, but in my system it's time to complete. The report name itself is average time to complete a job. So again, I'm just going to use my receive date. So handy hint for everybody, I'm sure you all know this, maybe you don't. If I do the first and then the first and then just hit enter, it automatically finishes my date range. If I just simply press the enter key or double click, I get today's date. So some handy little keyboard shortcuts there. Just as another one in here, if I wanted to do the first of the month that I'm currently in, I just do 01 and it'll do the current month I'm in now. But I don't, I want it to do the first of the first. There we go. Anyway, I digress with keyboard shortcuts. So I want to break down by customer with my receive date, and away I go. So average time to complete a job. This one, very evident what this is. There's nothing difficult about that. As I said, my reports are pinned to my menu. If they're not and you need them, you can of course find these reports in all reports, and when you've found one and you've run it and you liked it, you'll notice there's this pin button, or in my case it's unpin because this one is a pinned report, but if you like one you can pin it to your menus and that will always be there for you to use. You saw me do this on the previous report, but if I wanted to bring in breakdown by contract to see how long I am taking to complete some of my other jobs, you can see by contract the average time to complete your visits. Worth noting, I always get asked this before you do, what does an excluded job mean? These are things that are like no accesses, basically not a stopping status. So if you've no accessed the visit, then you've had things that have stopped work. Well, that's a bit unfair to say the average time to complete this job because you had it in no access 1, 2, and 3 for 6 weeks. So they get excluded from that summary. We have what's captioned in my system as completed jobs, and the reason I've done that is because the actual job title is breakdown of jobs completed inside and outside of response. It's a very short, snappy title, and the reason I've minimized it is so that my menu doesn't go off miles away that way. So it's this one, breakdown of jobs completed inside and outside of response. It does sort of what it describes in the description there. It will show you the jobs that you've completed within target, essentially, and also the jobs that you haven't, that you managed to complete but were outside of target. So again, let's just run our nice date range of year to date. If I just run that for everything, you'll see a very nice summary report there for the whole business. And again, breakdown by client, breakdown by contract, even breakdown by contractor. So if you've got multiple contractors set up in your system, if you've got two sort of separate companies almost, you can do that as well, and that'll allow you to see the split of those, and you'll get them as you saw in the previous report on different rows. So breakdown of jobs completed inside and outside of response. So here we've got these, very obvious what they do. The first visit in response, this is where you've got a completion that was out of target, but the first visit was in target. So you attended on time, but the completion was not. The completion out of target, that would be this one here, so you completed it out of target and also attended out of target as well. So basically you missed everything. This one here, no visits. So you completed it out of the target, but there's still been no visits. So maybe you edited the statuses to be complete. Live is obviously that jobs are still live, and the live jobs that are within response. So basically you've still got chance to hit your target. And these are ones that are the opposite, where they are still live, but you've missed the target. Moving on to our next one, we've got one here called appointments made and kept. Now, appointments made and kept sounds obvious. Did you make an appointment? Did you keep it? But this is entirely controlled by whether you're actually doing appointments or not. Now, what I mean by that, if I just go back to our dashboard, if I just grab a job at an awaiting allocation status and step into here, if I hit issue job, of course, we've got our nice assisted scheduling screen here. I could literally start issuing work out. But let's just show you the screen that you're familiar with. Let's say I want to give this out now. If I just book this in, that's not an appointment. So I'm just booking all these now. If I was to just hit continue, I've not actually booked an appointment. The appointment flag, which is here, that tick box there, that is an appointment. So the appointments made and kept report will only work if you're doing appointments in this way. An appointment means that you're supposed to attend at 10 o'clock for this house. So ticking that box classifies this as an appointed visit. That means that then the report that you just saw, which I'll rerun here, let's just do same date range, appointments made and kept, where we have issued the job out as an appointed visit. You've got 6 appointments that were made and the appointments that were kept were none. So we did terrible. All right, we've got one that's in the future. Final KPI report that was on my slide was the PDA QA. Again, this one is only relevant if you've got the end of visit customer satisfaction survey on. So there's a screen at the end of the build of the mobile app that allows you to ask the customer questions and they can answer questions, usually about whether they were happy with the service and that kind of thing. So if I was to run this for, again, my same date range and break it down by the operative so I can see who's doing what, we get a report that looks a bit like that. So not helpful. What if we wanted to see the questions? We can do that. Breakdown by question. Bring that in. So now we can see that Keith, how satisfied were you? Well, we have 3 that was not answered, but 2 that were really satisfied, and so on. So you can see what they were, and you can click into them. The customer QA, I meant to show this first because this has got the actual, rather than me describing it. You've got the 2 screens on my build. There's 2 questions. How satisfied were you and with the service, and how satisfied were you with the operative? And clicking on the star ratings, you can probably see there that 2 is dissatisfied, 1 is really dissatisfied. You can imagine what the rest of them do. Where you get one of the 2 lower ratings, there is a dashboard that you can show, a dashboard widget here. It's called the dissatisfied client ratings. And so basically, if you get any of these scores on any of the end of visits from your engineers, they appear on your dashboard here, along with a number that you've had. And then what you can do there is you can click into those, which looks like this, and it shows you the job. So you can step into the job, but it also allows you to contact that customer, give them a ring, talk through why they had negative feedback or deal with the client, whatever. You can add a note to that negative feedback and resolve that issue. Just allows you to follow up on any negatives. I know some people do this using things like SurveyMonkey and the like, but you can do it against the jobs directly, as you've seen there. So that was a fairly speedy tour of our KPI reporting. So what we covered today was essentially the dashboard widgets that can help you with things at a glance, but then also things that can help you monitor your KPIs by looking sort of more into reporting. That just about sums up everything I wanted to explain to you today. The next webinar is, as it says there, on the 19th of June, and that is a session all about the mobile app. Essentially, I'm walking through the mobile app, and I know a lot of you will literally, if you've got engineers reporting to you, will probably see this quite regularly. We have updated the mobile app, and there are a lot of features in it that perhaps you don't use individually. We have certain customers using one thing, certain customers using another. You saw the desirable assets screen today that I think some of you probably have never seen. So what I aim to do is I aim to put literally everything on it. It's going to be every single screen, every single feature that we can think of that you might find really useful, and we'll be walking through every stage of the mobile app so you can see what we offer. And you never know, you might find something on there that you think that you'd really like to use, in which case we can look at that. Some of you may have already had an email about this. We are having our next open day at our office. It's on Tuesday the 9th of June. You've probably had an email, as I say. If you haven't and you'd like to come, we're basically doing an open office in our office, not the meeting rooms downstairs. It's actually in our office where you'll get to meet the team. ask the questions you've always wanted to ask, get some support, mingle with other contractors, ask them questions, do a bit of networking. And then afterwards, we're going to Rain Bar, which is the pub just opposite the stage door of the Bridgewater Hall. It's just around the corner from our office. And hopefully, if the weather's anything like it is at the moment, we'll be sitting in a beer garden and entertaining you for the evening. If you'd like to come, can you register your interest by scanning that QR code, and that'll take you off to Eventbrite where you can register your interest. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. I shall see you on the next one. Bye for now.